Hi everyone, welcome to our PT Plus online lessons. Now the main topic for today's lesson is Describe Image, where we will be sharing the core strategy that you absolutely must keep in mind when you are studying for Describe Image and doing the Describe Image question. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, firstly, a quick recap. In Describe Image, you will have 25 seconds to prepare what you want to say about the image. Then you'll hear a beep, and you'll have 40 seconds to record what you want to say about this image into your microphone. And keep in mind that you can only record once, and you need to make sure you start speaking within 3 seconds of the microphone opening, because if not, the microphone will automatically close. Okay. Now, the scoring criteria for Describe Image is you've got 3 criteria. The first one is on content, the second is pronunciation, and the third is fluency. Okay, now previously we had videos that break down each of these to talk about their key requirements. And in this case over here, just a quick summary. For content itself, you can see 5 marks is when you're describing all elements. 4 marks is when you're describing the key elements of the image. 3 marks if you're describing most of the key elements. Okay, for pronunciation, a high scoring pronunciation will have 3 things. Number 1, clarity of sound. Okay, your production of your sounds are clear. Number 2, you have word stress. And number 3, you have sentence level stress in your pronunciation. Okay, now what constitutes a good fluency or a high fluency score? Number 1, you don't have any hesitations and you don't have any, long pauses. Number 2, you've got smooth rhythm and phrasing in your speech. And number 3, you're keeping a steady pace throughout and still maintaining your pronunciation in your when you're speaking. Okay, so now with these 3 criteria in Describe Image, we want to be maximizing our scores out of these 3 criteria. And there's a very, very core strategy to this. And to demonstrate this core strategy, I will be doing 2 versions of this same image, and you can have a think about which one will receive a higher score in the end in the exam. So let's say for this image, I'm only looking at the purple line, okay? And this is the first version that I might do in the exam. The number of articles published per year by female university professors increased from 1,000 articles in 2006 to 3,000 articles in 2012. Okay, so that is the first version as an example. Okay, now the second version. The number of articles published per year by female university professors increased from 1,000 articles in 2006 to 2,000 articles in 2008. Then it decreased to 1,800 articles in 2009, and then increased again to 3,000 articles in 2012. Okay, so between these 2 versions, version 1 and version 2, which one do you think will score higher in the exam in the end? Now, for many students, it seems like the answer is quite obvious. And obviously, number 2, right? Because this is a lot more descriptive. It's got a lot more solid content in it. But that is exactly the main problem. Okay, because it's got way too much content and too much detail. Now, if you recall, in the exam, you're not tested only on content. There are 2 other criteria as well, pronunciation and fluency, and they are each worth 5 marks too. So actually, in the exam, the version that will score better is actually version 1. Because with version 2, it will receive a higher score, but only in the content criteria. Okay, so with version 2, it will be receiving, a higher score in content of 4 to 5 marks. But in that process of trying to pursue such detailed content, okay, you will find that with 25 seconds of preparation time and 40 seconds of speaking time, to get to and to achieve such detailed content, you will ultimately be sacrificing the other two criteria. Because firstly, with your fluency, if you're trying to get so much content in, either you're going to be rushing through everything in that 40 seconds to try to say as much as you can out, and so your fluency is going to go down because you're not maintaining a steady pace, and also you're not going to be able to bring out that sentence level stress, and you're not going to have that smooth rhythm in there. You'll just be fast and that's it. Okay. Or secondly, if you're trying to achieve so much content, you'll often find that you don't have enough time, or you're not reacting quick enough to pick out each of these key information. And therefore, you might often be having more pauses and more hesitations instead. And that will again also reduce your fluency score by quite a bit. Now, at the same time also, when you're trying to think so hard about all of this content that you need to say and what you want to say, you'll realize that your focus will not be on how you're saying it. So you will be sacrificing your pronunciation because you're no longer thinking about how well you're saying whatever it is that you're saying. You're not thinking about your word stress. You're not thinking about your sentence level stress and communicating the meaning. You're no longer trying to pronounce well and sound nice, basically. Okay, so rather with version 1, yes, the content score will be lower because we are keeping it simple. Okay, but in the process of keeping our content simple, we are still achieving a 3 to 4 marks in content, which is still a pretty good score. And at the same time, when maintaining simple content, we can put more focus on these two criteria, which is number 1, ensuring that we're achieving high and good pronunciation with the content that we are saying. In the process of speaking, we are achieving clarity in our sound, we are achieving sound stress, word stress, and sentence level stress. Now, at the same time, because the content is a bit simpler, it means that we're able to better pace ourselves throughout the whole 40 seconds of speaking time, and we're also going to be able to minimize the hesitations in our speech because we're keeping the content straightforward and simple. Okay, so this is the core strategy that we're going for in Describe Image. We're keeping our content a bit more simpler, a bit more straightforward, so that we can bring out these two criteria, which is pronunciation and fluency, and allow these two to score higher. And you can see that this strategy is going to get you an overall higher score in speaking rather than trying to squeeze a lot of content but overly sacrificing these two criteria. Okay, so with that said, this core strategy ties in a lot with the use of our templates. Now, as mentioned, templates are is a core technique in Describe Image, and so with that strategy as well, it suggests a lot about what a template should have in order to help us maximize our scores. Which number 1 is the template needs to have a simple structure and a simple, straightforward content flow. Because remember, if your template is going to allow you to shove too much things in there, it's asking you to do too much, then you're no longer thinking about your pronunciation. And at the same time, your fluency, you're going to struggle to be able to fit so many things in while at the same time having it smooth and rhythmic and with proper phrasing. Okay. Now, secondly, your template cannot be too long. Now, if it's too long and you've got too many, filler words and too many template words, that means you'll have too little time, too little space to add in your content words. So in that case, definitely, that will also affect your content score. You might be sacrificing too much content. So it can't be too long as well. Now, the other thing also is that your template cannot be too short. If your template sentences are a bit too short, right, what it's doing is that it's leaving you too much space, too much time to put content in. The more content that you need to fill in, the more you need to be looking at the image and searching for all these key information. Which means then it's very easy to, number 1, get stuck or to hesitate or to pause, which will affect your fluency. And number 2, because your focus is on, inserting all that content in there, you're no longer thinking about your pronunciation and doing that well. Okay, so a high scoring template shouldn't be too short as well. Okay, now number 4, your template should not have any overly complex vocabulary. For example, you shouldn't have anything like the graph illustrates, any of these illustrates or in contrast, any of these complicated words. Because why? These words will not be, number 1, they will not add to your content. Okay. Number 2, if they're too complex, they will be affecting your pronunciation negatively as well. And number 3, it's quite easy to get stuck on them as well. So the whole point of your template is to maximize your fluency, how smoothly you can say it, and how well you can say it. So keeping your template sweet, simple, and very tailored to your own pronunciation is extremely important. Okay, so for example, tailoring a template to your pronunciation is, let's say you're practicing on the PTE Plus platform, and you see that the machine can never detect when you say the word graph. Okay, the graph shows information about, it's never detecting that word graph. That means that, number 1, you should try to be switching that out to another word altogether. Let's say the picture or the image, okay, or the chart. Any of these to suit your pronunciation such that in your template, you should be maximizing your pronunciation and your fluency. Okay, and number 5, again, your template should be not too long, not too short, but rather a nice, sweet amount of balance between template and content, such that it has sufficient filler sentences and stress words that can help you buy your thinking time. Okay, such that you can fluently insert your content in there as you go along. But at the same time, it's not so long such that you don't have enough time to add your content in. Okay, so this is what a high scoring template should have. And we have many videos showing and demonstrating our templates on achieving and maximizing your scores for describe image. So make sure that you watch those as well. Okay, so that's it for this lesson, and I will see you again next time on PT Plus.